Hello, this is Ananya. In today's lecture, we'll be studying about tuples. Tuples are a sort of inbuilt data structure that Python provides us with. We are done with lists previously and we are left with dictionaries and sets. We'll be doing a lot of examples, so your idea will be absolutely clear and I'm sure of that. Alright, so let's get started.
Okay, so what are tuples? Tuples are just like lists, but with a very significant difference. But we'll be looking at that. And tuples are basically inbuilt data structures provided to you by Python, which are immutable. Now, what does immutable mean? Exactly the opposite of mutable, that you cannot add or delete any element present inside the tuple. We could do that for lists, right? We could change, add, delete anything. So lists are mutable, tuples are immutable. Now that we know what are lists and tuples, what is the basic difference between them? What do you think? Well, let's find out. You define it inside simple parentheses. Remember, lists were in square brackets and tuples in simple parentheses. Okay, this is how you can define a tuple. Print it and you get the tuple. Now, what if you were to have a tuple consisting of only one element? Okay, you would have to give a comma after it, even though you don't have a second element. Why? Because if we didn't do so, check what type of class the tuple T2 belongs to if there isn't any comma. Okay, you have 2, and now let's check the type. You see, it belongs to the class int and not to the class tuple, which is not what we want, right? So you give the comma and you get it as a class tuple. Okay, one thing that you need to keep in mind. Now, coming to the point of when to use list and when to use tuple. So list will be used somewhere where you might have a possibility of changing elements inside it in the future. For example, we are going shopping now and we have a shopping list. Okay, let me just give a short form. Shopping list, and inside it you have certain elements such as let's say apples, then milk. Okay, you have these 2 elements. Okay, so now when you are about to go shopping, you decide that I think I need some other elements too. Maybe let's say I need bread. Okay, now since this is a list, we could append an element to it, right? Since it is mutable, let's see, we could append bread. What if this was a tuple? Okay, if I changed this to tuple, you couldn't have done this since tuples are immutable. So in this case, you would not have used tuple. Okay, there is no attribute append. So when can we use tuples? For example, you have an admission list and it's already the month of August, September, and your academic session started in the month of June, and a student comes to you saying, I want to take admission, is it possible? But you say that unfortunately no, we have all the students and it's really late, so it's not possible. In this case, when you are very sure that I cannot allow any more students to enter the school, in that case you use tuples. Okay, there is no amendment possible. Okay, this is a basic example. Now, if you were to append, as you just saw, if you were to append another student D, it would have not been possible. This is where you exactly need to know when you want to change elements and when not, and accordingly use list and tuples. A few more points that you need to know. Lists take more time to process and takes up more memory space. Why? Because they are dynamic and hence it takes more time to process them. In the other case, lists take less tuples take less time and space. Why? Because they are static. And another point is, for example, you are working in a project and with some data, and you will always want to use tuples. Why? Because once the data is stored inside the tuple, nobody will be able to mess around with it, and your data basically stays safe inside the tuple, which would not have been the case if it was inside a list. Okay, now moving ahead, we just have some quick examples to be shown. And you can, another thing, you can simply access elements inside a tuple just like we used to access with lists using the square brackets. Let's take a quick example. Let's take the same list, and I'll say print C of 0. Next I say print C of -1. It's just how you used to do with list, nothing different. C of everything up to 2. Okay, you have your first element, your last element, and the first 2. Okay, accessing and indexing, slicing, it's very easy. Now moving ahead, also you can declare tuples using the tuple inbuilt sequence given to y'all, that is tuple, and maybe I want to say pass a list inside it. Okay, now you can check that out by saying type of T2. So you have it as a class tuple. We also all the indexing and all of that. Now another thing is, do you think we can modify elements inside a tuple? Is that possible? We can't add, we can't delete certain elements, but can we modify it? Well, let's have a look. Let me comment this thing out. And you can also delete a complete tuple. Okay, that is possible. You just simply say del tuple or whatever the name of your tuple is. Alright, let's take the same list. I'll change it into a tuple. Okay, now what I want to say is, I want to delete this. So I simply say del SL, it will be removed. And now if you try to print it, you will basically get an error because the tuple SL does not exist. Okay, you get an error saying it is not defined. Now let's move on to modifying elements. I have a list, okay, and I have a list of tuples. Just give me a moment. Okay, so I have a list of tuples holding certain values. Let's say 2, 4, 3, 4. Then I have 78, 34, 43, 34, 67, 99, 101. Okay, this is a list of tuples, and now what I want to do is I want to amend this 101 to 100. How do we do that? But it's inside a tuple, right? So what the basic thing that you can do is use list comprehensions. Now in case you do not know what are list comprehensions, you can just have a quick view of one of my previous videos. You will find it there. So what I'm about to do is, I'll say return a list 2 starting right from the beginning up to the last element. Okay, and I shall concatenate that list 2 with a single valued tuple holding the number 100 inside it. And since this is all about list comprehensions, I'm going to place it inside a list, okay, that is inside square brackets. And now I shall iterate inside loop, the original loop L, that is for L2 in L. Okay, it's as easy as that. Let's see what we get. there you go, we have successfully changed value 101 to 100. Alright. Another example that I want to take is basically packing and unpacking of tuples. You will understand here how dictionaries and tuples are quite similar. Okay, tuples are basically the a simpler version of dictionaries without having an exclusive key value pair given to it. What I'm going to say is I'll have numbers 1, 2 and 3, and in another tuple, okay, please note what I'm doing. I have the letters A, B and C. Please note I'm not putting them inside strings, because if you do so you'll be getting an error that you cannot assign literal values. Now this tuple I assign again to T, the previous one. So the above statement is basically packing, our normal way of doing it, and this is unpacking. Okay, you're basically doing it the other way around. So this is unpacking. Alright, now if you print A, okay, if you try to print A, it will assign itself to the value 1. Okay, it basically acts as a key value pair. Okay, you see you got the value 1. Let's try out B. Okay, you got 2. You understand how this works, right? The packing, unpacking in a similar fashion such as dictionaries. We'll be looking at dictionaries in the next lecture. Things will get much more clearer then. And now one last example that I want to take is on LCM. Okay, LCM of two numbers. So how do we go about it? I'm going to create a user-defined function and build the logic. It's pretty simple. You find the maximum value present inside a tuple. Okay, we are storing numbers inside a tuple this time, and we'll pass the tuple to the user-defined function, find the maximum value. If the mod of it for both the elements gives us 0, then that is the answer. Otherwise we keep incrementing it. Okay, you just keep note of what I'm doing. It's very simple. If you need it, do a quick hand run. So I'm going to say def LCM and pass inside it the tuple T. Let me comment this, otherwise it'll overlap and cause me errors. Okay, now what I want to do is I'm going to find the maximum value. It's very simple. Remember how we do indexing. So if T of 0 is greater than T of 1, then assign T of 0 to max. Else, if it is not so, assign T of 1 to max. Okay, till now we have done, we found all the max value. Now I want to go inside the while loop and keep looping inside it until I find the answer, right? So I do not have any preconceived condition as to till when it is supposed to run. So I'm just simply going to give true, since I don't know till when it's going to run. So while true, I'm going to say if, remember the mod thing that I just said, if max mod T of 0 is equal to 0, okay, and max mod T of 1 is equal to 0. If both of these are true, then that is the answer. That is, it should be divisible by both of them, right? If it is so, I'll store it in answer and I'll break outside the loop. Okay, let me just make it max 1 or something, because max is an inbuilt function. It's going to give me an error later on. And now I'll break, since I have already found the loop. Okay, remember loop control statements. Alright, else I'm going to say you keep incrementing max. So max 1 plus is equal to 1. Okay, that's what I want to do, and later on I'll return answer. Okay, that's it. That is my entire code. So okay, there's another equal to. All right, let's run it now. Okay, sorry, I have to complete it. Okay, this is our basic logic. Now let's quickly take inputs. I'll firstly declare an empty tuple so that I can concatenate my inputs later on. So a is equal to int input of enter a number. Next, take another input, just copy paste, it'll save time. I'll just store it in B. And now what I'm going to do is I'll concatenate A and B to the tuple. So tuple plus is equal to A comma B. See how I put A comma B inside another tuple? Okay, so you're basically joining two tuples. And now that we have done this, we'll call our function. So I'll say print, hold on, print LCM is, and now I'll basically separate it using a comma and call the find LCM function, and I'll pass the list inside it, that is T. Okay, this is done. Let's run it. Enter a number, let's take 3, then let's take 5. You get your LCM as 15. Okay, as simple as that. I hope you all understood. This is all about tuples. I have covered as much as possible. Next, we'll be meeting with dictionaries. For now, bye-bye.